Hello and welcome back to Bookish. Today I'm here to review Anthony Trollope's The Warden. This is the first novel in the Barchester series, and this is my first Anthony Trollope novel. So this novel involves a good man, a member of the clergy in the Church of England named the Warden, and an uncomfortable position he finds himself in through really no fault of his own. And it makes us ask, I think in the novel, Trollope asks several questions. You know, where is the line between right and wrong? Should someone sacrifice their integrity for their friends, for the group of people they're associated with, for their family? Is it wrong for somebody to keep a job where they feel like that they are being unfairly paid too much and have too little to do? Do they owe something to their employer to keep that information and to keep that job so as not to embarrass their employer? You know, what is a person's responsibility in a situation where they're receiving money from a charitable trust and maybe they feel like, or maybe they come to realize they're getting too much money and not enough is going to people who are in actual need? Do people who are relatively poor but well cared for and housed and well fed, do those people deserve more money even though they have little use for more money? These are all kinds of questions that are at the center of The Warden by Anthony Trollope, a book which I really enjoyed. So the Warden himself is a man named Mr. Harding. He's a member of the Church of England, and he has a job as the warden of what in the book is referred to as a hospital. This is actually a charitable facility which was financed by a wool carter who died way back in the 15th century, and he financed this kind of charitable hospital as a place for a dozen older, impoverished wool carters to be able to come and live and be supported essentially through this donation to the church. Well, that wool carter who made the donation all that time ago owned a lot of land. That land increases in value. The rent on that land results in a lot of money being collected by the church, and a lot of that money goes to the position of the warden. This situation goes on, apparently, for years and years and years, long before Mr. Harding becomes the warden, until a young man named Mr. Bold, who is a friend of Mr. Harding and in fact is in love with his daughter, until a young man named Mr. Bold, who is a social crusader for justice, decides to take up this cause of these poor men living at this hospital who aren't getting the majority of the money that the charitable trust that was created for them is raising, and that instead of the majority of this money is going to Mr. Harding. This is an incredibly rich novel in which we're asked a lot of questions, in which the characters are oftentimes incredibly nuanced. You know, Mr. Harding is at once completely sympathetic, and he's a good man, and he's an honorable man, but there's no doubt that he is odd, and that he's not the person, not someone who normally stands up for himself. His daughter is a noble character who has all the best intentions, but somehow her plans don't necessarily lead to exactly what she wants. Mr. Bold intends to fight for what's right and to stand up for the little person, but in the process he ends up hurting Mr. Harding. You know, the archdeacon of the church, who's another important character in this story, is just fighting to maintain his church's position and the influence of the church, and in most other ways is a good man, but here is revealed to be someone who would pressure others into doing things that they don't want to do. There's a newspaper owner, printer, publisher, reporter, whose newspaper is kind of a crusading newspaper which essentially tries to expose all kinds of corruption all over the place, regardless of the cost to innocent individuals like Mr. Harding. And then there are the poor men living at this hospital who become convinced through meetings with lawyers that they can each get a large sum of money every year from this charity, this charitable trust, and that Mr. Harding, the warden, doesn't deserve it, and that they do. And they come out against Mr. Harding and put Mr. Harding in a position where he feels like he either has to sacrifice his position as the warden and risk the future of his daughter and live in relative poverty, or he has to stay on in a job in which he increasingly feels like he is getting money that he doesn't deserve. This was my first novel by Anthony Trollope, and I really liked it. I think it's a good novel. I don't know that I would say it's a great novel, but it is for me, a great introduction to Trollope and his work. And I'll try not to give any spoilers in this novel about the decision that Mr. Harding makes or what goes on, so if you want to read it, you can. It's a short novel in my version, in my Penguin Black bound classic version. It's only about 185 pages long. It's a pretty quick read, even for a slow reader like me. It's not a particularly exciting story, but the characters and kind of what I think Trollope is doing here become increasingly interesting as you go along. He's able to kind of create characters about whom you're not sure if they're good or bad, and your ideas about them kind of change over time. You know, are they doing the right thing? Are they doing the wrong thing? Are their motives good? Are their motives bad? He takes, Trollope very, I think, gently skewers the Church of England. He skewers the, kind of high-handedness of social reformers, and then who in their zeal sometimes, forget about all the damage they may be doing. He skewers the avarice of people, who might be doing perfectly fine, and their desire to get more money one way or the other. He skewers lawyers. He really goes after the English author Thomas Carlyle. There's a great kind of imitation of Carlyle's writing here, and probably the people he's the least gentle to in kind of deflating and going after are Carlyle in the English press, with its tendency towards scandal at all costs. Anyway, I thought it was a really good novel. Great way, like I said, to be introduced to Trollope's work, and I look forward to reading what I think is the next book in the Barchester series, which is Barchester Towers, and I have a feeling we've been introduced to one of the main characters in that book already. Anyway, let me know what you think of The Warden, of Trollope, of my review in the comment section below, and as always, thank you for watching.